Bible smack. Hey everybody, today, it's been a week or two since I've been able to film, and basically had a rough week. You might notice my voice is still a little bit messed up. I lost it all together for a couple days. A couple other shenanigans happened, and God restored me, and I feel all right. The thing that's been kind of on my mind, and I'm just kind of giving more of a personal type of video today as opposed to, teaching and stuff like that, because, I teach a lot. It's been dealing with the issue of the productivity and evangelism when it comes to these type of ministries. Now, I've done internet ministry now for about 5 or 6 years. I don't know how many people I've evangelized on the internet. Well, I should take that back. I don't know how many people have received Christ from my evangelism on the internet. I could easily figure just from, the views and stuff like that, or the listens, or the reads, or, whatever, from the different types of blogs, and the also the YouTubes and the internet radio, that I've probably reached about 100,000, if not 200,000 or 300,000. I think I've reached probably about 300,000, not including TV spots, because I don't know who's watching TV. But the question kind of comes forth is this really working? And I saw a fellow on Facebook kind of saying that he was tired and he was done being on Facebook because it just doesn't seem like people are, really listening on the internet. It's not the real world. And when you're in the real world, it seems like you can evangelize people, and otherwise you can't. I think that there is some truth to that, but we have to kind of understand the nature of these things. In other words, if you are in front of people one-on-one, then there is a lot more that you have to take in, and a lot more respect that you have to give. On the internet, people generally kind of get off on this idea that they don't have to be respectful to people, and it can wear you down. And there are times where I'm responding back, and I'm responding harshly, but I'm being totally fair. It's just like if somebody comes up to me on the street and punches me in the face, it's fair for me to hit back. It's fair for me to stop my opponent from trying to destroy me. But at the same time, there are times where that is a temptation, and then you feel bad later. It's like, well, was I too temperamental? Was I too mean? And trying to get the gospel out there. But also the nature of the conversation, sometimes you have to understand. Apologetics is a defense of the faith. Now, how can you defend the faith if the faith has never been brought up? And I believe that we should bring up the faith. We should evangelize and bring up the gospel whenever we have the opportunity. But many times I think that people don't understand that apologetics is, to most people, is more people who've already rejected the gospel. And that's very important to understand, is that these are people who have heard the gospel. They have heard the Holy Spirit knock on the door. Now, sometimes it's because, they were dealt unfairly. And we know that that's legitimately out there. And so then you go to the church and you say, look, church, you're doing this wrong, you're doing that wrong, you're doing that wrong. And when I was doing my blog, I did a lot of that. I did a lot of correction of the church's false teachings, the church's mistakes. And I still, have that there. But then that gets a little discouraging, because then people are like, well, look at all their errors. So, you're like, okay. So then you try to build the church up a little bit. And as you're trying to build the church up, then you do get into it with these other religions. And so then we take them on. And then you kind of get, put in this box and demonized, because apparently that's all that you're out for, is to protect the church. It is, even though I spent many years trying to correct the church. So then what do? Well, you also have another world that's the political world. And the political world is a war constantly, because it's all about power. And so you deal with that, because the power over the environment is going to affect things. As I looked at the presidency of Barack Obama, I noticed how they did accomplish achieving controlling the culture. Certain policies that they had placed that would alter people's minds to get them in the right place. And that's one thing that's depressing when we talk about the church and the public school system. They marginalized the Christians, and then they atheized and socialized the public school system. So it's training people. We're paying our tax dollars to train people to hate us. And you say, well, not instantly, but eventually. That's the eventual outcome. And they say, oh, well, we're just going to do what we're going to do, And so then you have to fight that. But then the Christians who you're fighting for misinterpret that, and they think, well, you're just trying to, force the gospel down people's throats. No. I'm trying to stop evil. We didn't try to stop evil, and what happened? Well, they taught kids how to fornicate, and then once those kids started fornicating, guess what? They started to get in the wrong relationships, and then they started divorcing. And then once they were divorced, they didn't raise their kids anymore. And so then the public school has to dumb down and dumb down and dumb down, and so you have a dumber society. You have all this, natural hatred, this natural attack on everything sacred. And, meanwhile, back at the ranch, the idea is, well, we need to come at it always submissive and always kind of saying, okay, yeah, we're wrong, yeah, we're evil, yeah, we're stupid, and then God will give us a special crown for, kind of failing with the group, failing with society. Sometimes they can put a rope-a-dope with this, sometimes, the anti-God people can go so far with their hatred to the point where they start feeling guilty and they start realizing, hold on, there's something that's not right. I'm not happy, and that's great. But basically, many times it doesn't happen. And, at what point are you supposed to protect? At what point are you supposed to defend? If I'm a father and I see my daughter getting beaten and brutally raped, shouldn't I be allowed to physically step in and beat the crap out of those guys? And they say, no, you be nice. I'm not being nice to my daughter if I did anything different. I'm not being nice to my wife if the same thing was happening to her. And so this is where a lot of the confusion happens. Now, it says in 2 Corinthians that our war is not against the physical, that our war is against the spiritual. And so I don't believe in any theocracy taking over or anything like that. But there are some basics, and those basics have to be protected. We can't let our children get molested. We can't get our children to be brutalized. So we do have to fight. And in this war that we are currently in, it's just like the Cold War, only it's within the country. I call it the soft civil war. Within that war, then I fight with my mind. I fight with my intellect. But what about the evangelism? And, you know, this was a issue, a struggle when I was in college because everybody was into Calvinism. And they were kind of thinking, well, you know, whether they accept or don't accept, that's God's will. And I believe that there is a choice in there. I believe that when you look at the Gospels, it's presented that way. You know, when they're telling you come, if you're not coming, then obviously it wasn't a irresistible force forcing you. And yet, at the same time, you were lost before you got saved. Okay, you're not chosen from birth and all this kind of malarkey. No. You were chosen to be saved when you believed. Now, the big thing, though, is that there's still stuff there that is not in the power of the evangelist. The evangelist only has the power to give people the gospel, the saving gospel of the Holy Spirit. And so I have, you know, evangelized on many occasions, and I've given that out. I know with me, you know, you also get stuck because there's the issue of, like, mass evangelism. Is mass evangelism the right way to go? I mean, you know, one minute they'll say, mass evangelism is horrible. You know, you're manipulating people's emotions. And the other minute there's like, hey, nobody's coming. You know, but my evangelist experience is not from mass evangelism. It's from personal evangelism. I know of about 20 decisions that were made as far as me talking to people. And I know a couple of those who've, you know, left the faith. But basically, you know, what's the point here? What's the purpose of this? Well, number one, we don't know. We don't know who you are. Like, I don't know who you are who's watching this. Okay, I can tell you that. You might know me. You might not know me. You might barely know me. Who knows? Okay, were you somebody in my personal life? Are you somebody who knows me through my internet ministry? Or is this your first time watching this guy? I don't know. I do be careful to present everything you need. I have gone through every, you know, denomination of Christianity and given a biblical critique, even my own. I have made presentations of apologetics so that, you know, every argument is dealt with. I've developed my own philosophy, and I'm even working on, well, I have developed it in written form, but I'm, you know, filming this series on the New Year's cosmology. Even doing a commentary on American history from a New Testament Christian perspective. So I'm doing what I can do. Am I going to be able to deliver perfection to you? No. My gospel is about being a sinner saved by grace. I've read through the Bible, and I know tons and tons and tons and tons of rules with several other tons of things that I have failed, that I have done wrong, evil I've committed, selfishness that I've had, laziness, all sorts of other things. And I can let that get me down, but I have to live by God's grace. I preach God's grace, so why don't I just go ahead and live it? The thing that gets me to wake up in the morning is the idea of another chance to do something right, to change the picture. The picture of the world that I see is one that is dim, one that is gloomy, one that is always dying. But to be able to bring a little light is the only thing that to me brings any worth, any value or living. So basically that's what I do. And I live by Jesus, by him having grace on me. I don't know why he'd have grace on me. But, you know, even in my times where I'm getting depressed, and Elijah talks about that still small voice. And it's the fact that a new day comes and he gets me up. And some days I don't even know what to say. But basically, it's another chance, and I'm going to take it. And I hope to reach some of y'all. I know that if I do, it's not me, it'll just be God reaching you. And I hope he does. Because God has made me love you. And I mean, I'm saying this to even those of you who have, just smarted off and cussed me out and treated me like crap. You know, in my real life when I was young, that happened a lot. I got spat upon. I got jumped, cussed out constantly. But I know that we are all dying men. We are sinners. We are evil. And we need a Savior. And I am no better than you. And if there's a way that God could use me to give you that love and to show you that there is a hope and there is a truth, no matter what you do, no matter what I do, that's the only thing of worth and value that I can find. And the gospel is simple. I explained the gospel completely in another video called The Gospel Explained. But essentially, as far as how it feels, it's God coming here, coming to us, loving us, walking a mile in our shoes, and him taking all the pain, all the guilt, all the curse, all the damnation on himself, and rising up with a life that doesn't die. And as you get older, you may find pain, destruction, and different things in your life. But there's only one way to find life. And he's bringing it. He's bringing it abundantly. Trust him. You don't have to earn your way to hell. It's what you've walked in. But there is a new life. There's a new way. Trust him.